The best thing that ever happened to me is the desperation of wanting to go into Target and climbing over that mountain of, I need to find $300,000 in literally like a fucking week. We had to find the money because if we didn't find it, it wasn't going to work. Nothing was not going to work for me. Those kinds of deals, those kinds of opportunities do not just come knocking at your door. If it comes, you have to relish it and you have to figure out, how am I going to squeeze $300,000 out of a penny?
Hey, this is Raina Campbell, your Chief Dream Driver, and welcome to the No Parking Podcast, where through conversations and discussions with creators like yourself, we'll find interesting approaches to help you take your dreams out of park, put them in drive, and ride towards success. Hey Dream Drivers, welcome to episode 135. How much would you risk to make your dreams come true? Today's guest is Beatrice Feliu Espada, and we're going to get into how she was able to grow The Honey Pot, a feminine care company born out of the need to naturally heal herself. Beatrice talks about how she wasn't afraid to make strategic moves, even when there were doubters who didn't believe in the brand's longevity. Because of that belief, you guys, she was able to build a loyal following, get the brand into Whole Foods, and later nationwide Target stores, which is one of her biggest accomplishments to date. We are going to be giving away a wash from her company, The Honey Pot. So if you want to win a wash and test out how fabulous her product is, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/win. dreamsanddrive.com/win. But before we get into the episode, I have a huge announcement for you guys. The Dreams and Drive merchandise shop is officially open. So if you want a Dreams and Drive hoodie, a crew neck, or a t-shirt, all you have to do is go to dreamsanddrive.com/shop. We have free shipping for the rest of February, and if you use the code DRIVER at checkout, you'll get 10% off. I would really, really love this support, so if you want to get some Dreams and Drive gear, please shop this week. You know, do it today. Do it as you're listening. We have hoodies in red, black, and gray, and then we also have some specialty colors as well, so make sure you get that stuff before it runs out. I love it when you guys are sharing on social, so please continue to screenshot and tag us. We're Dreams and Drive across the board, and also subscribe. So I'm going to start doing podcast shout outs. I want to highlight other podcasters that I think are doing great things. And I think as an independent podcaster, that's part of our job, right? We all want each other to grow. And if we work together, we can get the needle moving even faster. So are you looking for a podcast that has honest conversations about love, relationships, pop culture, and lots of other stuff? Then the Boonie Breakdown is for you. Every Monday, you can join host Boonie along with her friends and special guests for real and off-the-cuff conversations on life's everyday happenings. Boonie is just so real. I love her voice. I love the stuff she talks about. So hopefully you guys can go and check out the show. You can listen to the Boonie Breakdown on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app. Also, make sure to check out the Boonie Breakdown and follow the show on Facebook and Instagram at the Boonie Breakdown and Twitter at Boonie Breakdown. Hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Let's get to it. Hi, Beatrice. Welcome to this episode of Dreams and Drive. I'm super excited to chat with you today.
I feel the same. Thank you so much for having me on.
So I'm trying to remember how we first got connected. I think it was at the Founder Made conference the Founder Made conference, and I visited your vending table and you told me all about your products. And I'm like, you know what? I want to have her on the show. We made it happen.
I know that worked out, right? Yeah, it was at Founders Made. Yeah. It was a cool event, right?
Yeah, for anyone listening in, I always tell people it's all in the follow-up, right? Like when you meet somebody interesting, don't waste time. Don't say, oh, maybe I'll connect or maybe I'll do that. You really just have to build on that momentum and just keep everything going.
Yeah, there's nothing to it but to do it, right?
Oh, I like that. Look, you're only like a minute in and you already sharing tweetables. So I love to start our interviews going back in time, kind of reflecting on who we were as children, because I definitely think that lays the foundation for who we are as adults. So if I had to say, what type of kid were you? What was inspiring you as a young child? How would you answer that?
I was always very independent. My mother kind of forced that on me. as a teenager, whenever I wanted to do something, she was really great about this. At the time, I didn't think it, but now I do. I told my mom, I'd like to learn how to drive, or I want to get my license. She said, well, go get a job and you can, and I'm like 15, 16. She says, go get a job. You can pay for driving school. Right. So I said, okay. So I got a job at McDonald's. So then I said, I take driving school, I get my license. Then I said, Mom, my next door neighbor had this really cute, like 94 Honda Civic that she had bought for her kid, but it didn't work out for some reason and she wanted to sell it. And so I said, Mom, I want to buy this car. It was $4,000. My mom said, save up half and I'll match it, So she always forced me to not really have to rely on her, even though she was my mother. And to most people, that's her responsibility, but really it wasn't. You know what I mean? I guess that's always been my thing. I've never really needed anybody to push me to do the shit that I want to do. If I want to do it, I want to do it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Your mom really seems to have been a big influence and a big motivation in your life as well.
Yeah, my mom is everything, man. Like she's my mirror, right? Like she made me who I am. So I can never forget my mom. She's my whole life.
So what was the dream back then? What did young Beatrice say she was going to do when she grew up?
It changed so many times. When I was in high school, I remember being a junior in high school and I wanted to go to fashion school because I was really into fashion. And my mom, we organized a trip. We went to see the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising in California. We went, we looked at it. It was really fantastic school, but it was so expensive. I didn't want to put myself or my mother in that kind of debt to get out and be in fashion, because you just never know what's going to happen in fashion, right? So then I graduated high school and then I started working as a pharmacy technician. And I did that for like 8 years. And I did all kinds of pharmacy, like, compounding, IV, hospital, retail, mail order. Like I did everything. While I was doing that, I've always been a healer in some kind of way. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, well, maybe I should go to school to be a doctor. When I finished working in pharmacy, I worked in hospital pharmacy. And so I said, maybe I should be a doctor. So actually, I was able to touch I actually like managed the OR like pharmacy. Like they have these machines that they have in every like place in the hospital really, but each room had like this machine. It was called a Pyxis machine. And I had to take care of those machines. And so one day, I was in there and I was like, I asked one of the doctors, one of the anesthesiologists, because that's what I wanted to go to school for. Could I just sit in on one of their procedures? And they were like, yeah, it was so dope. You know what I mean? And so at that time, I did that. Then I got started with my pre-med. And then I was like, damn, I don't want to be around sick people all my life.
Man, yeah, it can be draining.
Yeah, it's a lot, it's a lot. And so, then I left working in pharmacy and then I went to work at Whole Foods because I just wanted to be around things that weren't toxic and sick and stinky and you know what I mean?
That's a big jump, right? Like, going from healthcare to retail food industry. You really jumped. You're like, nah, I want to live.
Really yeah, like I really, really jumped. And it was a big pay cut too because, pharmacy techs don't make a ton of money, but it was all right. It was okay for the time, Mm-hmm. And so then I went to work for Whole Foods and then that's just when everything changed. I got bacterial vaginosis and then made this wash. It worked. And then all of a sudden my life's work became honeypot.
So you working as a pharmacy technician and I guess you were learning a lot of skills and, in that line of work. Like, what do you think was like the one thing that after walking away from that profession, it really stayed with you about how life worked, about how business worked, anything?
The compounding stayed with me. The making things, the having to mix this with that and come out with something that is going to make you better. I think that's what stayed with me. I mean, my ancestors were like herbalists and healers and seers and stuff like that. And so I think that just runs through my blood. You know what I mean? But that was what stayed with me. And I guess the capacity to, it goes back to my mommy, really, always making me like get my life together. Like, you want to do that? Okay, then go do what you need to do that. Like, don't ask me to do it for you. You know what I'm saying? I guess a lot has stayed with me. When it was the pharmacy years, it was the compounding. When I worked for Whole Foods, I was a buyer and a merchandiser. But then back then, Whole Foods used to invest a lot of money into their employees. Like, they don't do that shit anymore. Like, they used to send you on health immersions. So like, I went to California to go like do the Dr. McDougall health immersion. You know,
wow. What year was this?
That was like 2005. No, excuse me, 2010, 2011. Okay. That's when Whole Foods still had its glory, you know. You know, from there, I kind of learned about herbs and how beneficial organic eating and organic foods and lifestyle was. Like, even if you don't have a lot of money, it's worth it to do that. You know, I became a broker, like a natural food broker. So I went from my customer being the person that I help at the store, to the store being my customer. Right. And so what I got from that is learning how to get products, in a store. And then I left that. And then I went to be a sales manager. This is all like during this time is when Honey Pot is in full fledged, right?
Okay.
So I'm still doing Honey Pot, but also I had to work
So let's pause a little bit before we get into the Honey Pot story, because I just want to know, like, during those early days at Whole Foods, before you got sick and you kept getting BV over and over, did you ever consider that you were going to be an entrepreneur?
No, I had side hustles. I cleaned people's houses. I organized closets. I even, I did a bit of artistic modeling. I worked for Whole Foods. So I was in retail, so I had to bring the money in, so I did a couple of different things. So I've always had that entrepreneurial bone in my body. Did I know that I was going to be in CPG? Not really, no.
And CPG is consumer packaged goods, for anyone who doesn't know what that means. Do you think the motivation for the side hustles at that point was purely like just to bring in extra money, or were you also doing it because you were passionate about that stuff?
I think I was passionate about having my own thing, and again, that goes back to my mom. Like, just in case something went bad, at least I could always fall back on this. But then again too, it was because I just needed some dough, and I knew how to do those things really well. I just did what I had to do.
What was the problem that you kept having, and how did you go about solving it?
I kept getting bacterial vaginosis over and over again for nearly a year. So for about 7 or 8 months, I would literally go to the doctor, get the medicine, take the medicine. It would go away. Then I would get my period. Then it would come back. And so it was just this over and over battle that every month I would lose, and I was taking the medicine, but I was also doing a lot of natural remedies. I was douching with stuff. I was, I was using apple cider vinegar in the shower every day. I was
trying to get rid of the bacterial vaginosis.
Yes. Okay. Anything that I could do or Google or research or read about or anything, I was literally doing it. Like, I was desperate. Nothing was working.
So how did you find the winning mix?
You know but right before you wake up in the morning, sometimes you dream. Mm-hmm. I dreamed with an ancestor, and she gave me a recipe. And I woke up and I told my mom I woke up and wrote it down, because I had just, at that time, I practiced Santeria Lukumi. So I think I had just gotten my warriors, or I had just been initiated into my religion. Like, it was one of one of the two. I think, no, I had just been initiated to be a Yawo, to be an Orisha. And so, you know, when you go through a ceremony like that, you dream a lot. You know, you're tapping into your ancestors and all that stuff. And so I went to sleep. I woke right before I woke up. I had a dream, and who I think is my grandmother came to me, gave me this recipe. I woke up, I wrote it down because I kept a book by my bed. Told my mom about it. Tried it. Honestly, if I tried it on a Monday, by Friday it was gone. I never suffered with bacterial vaginosis again. Yeah.
With that specific recipe
with that specific recipe that I also had to fine tune a little bit, you know, but the bulk of the recipe that she gave me was it worked, you know, like it literally worked.
Like for me in my own life, I've had those dreams, those powerful moments, right? Where like when you wake up, you gotta write it down. Or sometimes when you dream and you see the answer, right? Like how important for you is paying attention to those signs in your life? Because you could have easily said, another dream, I'm not going to pay attention to it. Or, you know, like why was that so important for you to act on it?
Because it was just too clear, man. It was just way too clear. You know, it made too much sense. What else did I have to lose? And, you know, it's my whole spirituality, right? Like my whole spirituality revolves around my ancestors. So if I'm lucky enough for one of them to come to me, and while I'm in my, you know, just about to wake up, while I'm sleeping, why would I not listen to what they have to say? Because that's what they're there for. Honestly, all the success that I have is attributed to them. Sure, we work hard. Sure, we do the shit that we're supposed to do. But like the things that have happened with me and my company, like it just doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like these things don't like they happen, but it's very few and far between. And the factors of luck are just like consistent. You know what I mean? For me, it's important because they're how I eat. They're how I don't work for anybody anymore. I work for myself, you know? It's how I pay my mortgage and put food on my table and, you know, travel and live. You know what I'm saying? So it's of mass importance.
You got the recipe on the Monday. The Friday it was gone. What was next? Did you say, hey, like I could help other people with this, or this could be something bigger?
I had to help other people. It wasn't I could. It was I must, you know, because so many women deal with it. So, you know, at any given time, 27 million women in the United States, that's not even counting around the world globally, are dealing with this epidemic, you know, and it, you know, it's, you read the statistics and, you know, supposedly it's a Black woman thing and Black women lead the charge in having bacterial vaginosis, but really that's bullshit because most women of any race can get bacterial vaginosis, you know?
What are the causes?
The causes are a lot of things. The causes, it can come from you wiping the wrong way. It can come from a sexual partner. And not necessarily because your sexual partner may have bacterial vaginosis, but your sexual partner, you know, especially if it's a man, you know, a man's sperm is alkaline. A woman's vagina is acidic. And if those two come together and don't blend well, you know, if the man is a little more alkaline and the woman is a little less acidic than she's supposed to be, then it's going to throw her pH off. Okay. And so, you know, so it could be that, it could be, you know, food, it could be hormone levels. I mean, it could be a lot of pregnant women deal with it. You know what I mean? It could literally be a multitude of things. You know, I believe too, women using the wrong things to wash themselves every day, because if you're using the wrong thing to wash yourself every day, right? And then, especially if you deal with this recurring, and then you take the medicine, it goes away. Then you get your period. What happens when you get your period? The blood comes down. Blood is alkaline. Your vagina is acidic. Typically, this is normal, right? Our bodies are set up to deal with that, right? Because it takes your pH more towards. It's still acidic when you're on your period, but it's going more towards neutral than it is, more neutral than it is acidic, right? And so if your pH is already off, it's like your bank account being negative, and then a bill comes through and then it throws you off. And then now it takes you longer to get back to zero or to get back to where you're supposed to be because you were already off to begin with. Does that make sense?
No, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So you said, you had to help other people. So like, what were the next steps that you took in order to really get this mission you had of helping other women who were dealing with this?
I had to fine tune my recipe. It was my formula. It was a lot stronger back then. There was an esthetician that was working at Whole Foods. And so I kind of went to her and was like, yo, I'm working on this thing. I'd like this, you're an esthetician. You understand skin. So let me know your thoughts. Right. And I mean, that relationship ended up not working out because it was a little too much for what she wanted to really be a part of, which was cool. So I went to her. Then that didn't work out. So then I was just like, Beatrice, you can do this. You don't need anybody else, And so then I went to fine tuning the recipe because it was really strong. Even though it worked for me.
When you say strong, what do you mean? Like it smelled strong or it just was too powerful and it worked too quick?
It was powerful because the concentrations of ingredients, it's when you're making skincare, it's a lot like making food, like cooking, so you need a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but there's a chance when you're cooking, you might put a little too much salt or you might put a little too much flour or something like that, so you have to figure out what the balance is, especially if you're working, I worked off of the recipe that my grandmother gave me. But that was just kind of the bulk of the recipe. But there was still other things that I needed to kind of take in and add out, or add. I did that. And because I worked at Whole Foods, I worked in the whole body section. I had access to women. And me and my team were really close when I worked at Whole Foods. So everybody knew my business. I knew their business. And they knew because there was a lot of women on staff. So they knew that I was dealing with this thing and trying to beat it. And they also knew about honeypot. And so anytime somebody came in and had a vagina problem, they sent them to me for some reason.
You became the vagina doctor.
I became the vagina lady at Whole Foods. And so that gave me access to women. Any woman I could ask, I would say, hey, I have this product, I'll give you my number if you're interested. So I kind of did my own clinical trial. It wasn't under it wasn't under a doctor or anything, but I just did my own clinical trials because I had to make sure that it worked for me or that it worked for just more people than just me. And so it ended up working really well for them. And so I was like, okay, I found my formula. And then, that kind of spun off into a couple of other formulas during the clinical trial for other reasons. It just molded, I just had this thing and I just kept going with it. Like, okay, now I need to do clinical trials. So I did clinical trials for a couple of years. And then from there, we got in. Yeah, for a couple of years.
Is that part of the process or like, do you?
Yeah. You can't just make a product from scratch and then just throw that shit on the market. Like you have to make sure that it works. You can't sell something. It's like if you're in the food business, right? If you're in the food business, your food better taste so good because you need people to have to need it. You need them to want it, but they also need to have it. You know what I mean? And so I had to make sure that it worked. I mean, this is a feminine wash, which especially in the natural arena doesn't really exist. In natural in retail, like you don't see a lot of feminine washes in retail. You just in like you see it in mass market, but not necessarily in natural. Not that I created the niche because there were other natural feminine washes before me, but where I was at, because my goal at that time was to get into Whole Foods, right? So I needed to prove because the buyers at Whole Foods were men.
Even for feminine products?
For everything, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. And so I had to make sure that what I was doing was working. And it worked. I mean, and then in February of 2014, we went to the Bronner Brothers hair show. My other co-founder, my brother Simon, I literally got on my hands and knees, like literally, I'm not over exaggerating, and begged him to help me find the money to fund to fund this, because I had to buy bottles and caps. And
that's a major thing, especially when you're having a CPG business or even any type of product-based business. That initial capital that you need just to get things going, because it's different. Like for this podcast, all I had to invest in was a mic and a computer and some editing, right? Like what's that, under $100 or whatever? But you can't make a product for under $100. So
no.
How did you go about getting that financing and building that or getting that capital to launch everything?
Well, Simon was really instrumental in that. He basically let me use his credit card, because he had like one of those dope Amexes that like has a high limit. Mm-hmm. And so
was his background like in business and stuff, or he just was really good at credit? His credit was banging.
No, his credit was good, but his background was in finance.
Okay.
He's a licensed CPA. He has his master's degree in finances and in finance and taxation. And at the time, he thought that I was going to fail. He just wanted to just do it for me, because I was literally on my hands and knees begging him.
He told you that? Like he said, this is not going to work?
Not that he thought that it was going to work, and he didn't verbalize that to me back then, but to him, it was like, most businesses fail. You know what I mean? And so, not in a way of diss, but like kind of a diss. You know what I'm saying?
Like, let me just keep you realistic.
Exactly. Because he's a finance guy. He's debits and credits. Like, for them, he's just weighing out the options and looking at the statistic that most of the time these things don't work. But I proved him wrong. I mean, we took 600 bottles to the show. Me, Suad, and my mom and a couple of other people, we were at the show selling. We sold 600 bottles in a weekend.
Wow. Had you guys done any pre-branding, or was this all like you were people were being introduced to the brand there? People were being introduced to the brand there. Literally launched that weekend. Had never sold a bottle ever. And that was your first trade show too? That was our first trade show ever. It just made sense. How were you selling it? Like, how were you selling to these women? Like, what was the pitch, if you remember? Oh man, it was, basically started out with, what do you use, what do you use every day for your feminine hygiene? I would tell them my story, how I had bacterial vaginosis. I used this product. Basically, it just went away. We had 3 formulas. They were called lavender, preggers, and for younger ladies. It was just talking to them about which formula they should take, and what was the difference between all 3. But I mean, it was crazy. I don't even remember the pitch from back then, but it was literally, we just made it up on the fly. This worked for me. These are the different formulas that we have. This is the reason why I think that you should use it. Ask them what they use every day. They probably say like Dove or Caress or Summer's Eve or something like that, and then I would tell them some of the things that were in those products that they would want to steer away from because they were really toxic. And a lot of the women were dealing with bacterial vaginosis and reoccurring yeast infections. So like, women go through this in silence, Yeah, and it's not something like people just don't talk about. It's not like I could, post a tweet on my Facebook or post a Facebook status and be like, "Hey guys, I got a yeast infection." Like no one. It's like one of those private. It's like one of those private things, and I just also think we don't necessarily talk about feminine hygiene as much, right? Like it's not. We don't. We don't even know you're supposed to like take care of it I'm not saying we don't know. We don't really prioritize it as much unless there is a problem. I think if you were raised to prioritize it, you did. That was another part of it too, is like, did your mother teach you how to take care of yourself? Like a lot of women don't, like you said, they don't find the reason to have a wash specific to that. So that was actually, you just reminded me, that was another part of the pitch, because it was like, okay, do you use a bar of soap on your hair to wash your hair? No, use shampoo.
Would you take your body wash and scrub your teeth with that? No, you wouldn't, right? So like, you have certain products for certain parts of your body. Your vagina has its own immune system. It's a mucous membrane. It brings life into the world. Like, it's such a powerful part of your existence and everybody else's in the world's existence. It should have its own product to maintain it and keep it healthy. You know what I mean?
That makes so much sense. And I just feel like, thinking about it now, I wonder, because I grew up Caribbean with Caribbean parents, and I'm telling you, I don't even think they wanted me to know I had a vagina until I was 20. Like, I'm telling you that. They're like, oh, don't, like, that word is just like, don't use that word. It's so silly now to think about it, but it's just so important for us. And something else I'm interested in is you sold out of all your products in a weekend, right? That was a huge marketing opportunity for you. How were you able to capitalize on that success and really leverage it for, what was next for the company?
That was the part that wasn't easy. I mean, we took all the orders on an iPad, so we had access to, to emails. We created a website. We put the website address on the bottle. At that time, we weren't the best at figuring out how to maintain and keep all those relationships. After that, maybe like 5 or 6 months later, I was able to get Honey Pot into Whole Foods. And so I got it into Whole Foods in the Southeast. I was only in a couple of stores because they wouldn't, they didn't think that it was going to be something that worked because, again, they had never really had anything like that.
You? The doubt.
Because that's the nature of, I hate to say it, but sometimes that's the nature of men, not in a bad way. But I don't think that they necessarily always take us serious.
Especially they don't understand it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so, but it's cool. I like being the underdog. I like people not necessarily knowing my name. And then all of a sudden it's like, you're in front of them and then somebody says, oh, you're the founder of Honey Pot. It's like, yeah, not because I want the fame or anything behind it, but I don't necessarily need everybody to know who I am, or I don't necessarily need you to believe in me to know that this shit is going to be what I want it to be. You know what I'm saying? So I always just was like, okay, that's cool. They basically, when we got into Whole Foods, we were literally paying them to have it on the shelf. Like that, I wasn't making any money. Like nothing.
Did you ever consider pulling it?
No, I didn't, because I knew that if I could prove to them that it was going to work, they would have to increase the price. They would have to. So I did. I proved to them that it was going to work. And then at that time, I was also a broker, right? So I would have to go and meet with these buyers for companies because that was my job. And so I basically get again, the blessings and my luck, right? Because most people that are in this business don't have that kind of experience. Because I was already kind of massaging a relationship with him I worked for 100 brands at that time. So I was already working with him for those brands. So one day I had rebranded my product, kind of, sort of. I just made it nice. I renamed the products and I had a meeting with him. And then when the meeting was over, the people that I was meeting with left the room and I was like, yo, I just pulled the stuff out and was like, man, look, this is where I am right now. I need you to increase the price because I'm not making any money. I need you to put all of these products in, and he was dumbfounded because he was like, okay, she really brought me something and I got what I wanted, but I had to just prove myself. Sometimes you have to take a loss to prove that whatever you're working on is going to be the thing that's going to be successful.
That is so true. And you have to believe in it, because if you don't believe in it, if you didn't have that sense of confidence going into that meeting, he could have just said, sorry, no, but he saw something in you, right? And I feel like it's also that persistence and that resilience. And like, I'm not going to give up on something. Although people doubted it along the way, you knew that this was a product that would change people's lives. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I've always known. I mean, I get I'm not as in touch with it because it's gotten a lot bigger than then, but we get testimonials all the time. We get, I've had women write me letters that have like brought me to tears. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So like, I can't not think that I can't think small with this because it's not just about me anymore. It's about all the other women that have all the success that they do. Like 40% of the people that buy my products come back and buy them are repeat buyers. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you see those kinds of numbers coming in, like you have to pay attention to that. And it's bigger than you now.
So how did you guys get into Target? Because I know that's a major accomplishment for any CPG. Like what was that, or how did that come about?
My buyer went to her hairdresser to get her hair twisted, and
she was a sister.
Yes, she is. She's a Black woman, and she was talking to her hairdresser about how she wanted to clean up the feminine care aisle, and Honey Pot's name came up, and she told her to look us up. She looked us up. She sent an email. It took a year to work on the deal, but that's how we got in.
Wow.
They came to us.
That is amazing. And I know, like, even from hearing other guests, like episode 121 guest Melissa Butler of the Lip Bar, getting into Target, like a lot of people think it's like, oh, it's a great thing, but it's also expensive and it's a long time, right? Because she told they wanted her to change her packaging, like all the core fundamentals that made her brand. So talk to us about like some of the things that you guys had to change and how that affected your business and just the amount of money that it takes to provide product to so many stores.
Being that we had that meeting, I really wanted to relish that opportunity well. So when I went into the meeting, I kind of put it on myself, like a part of the expense. When I went into the meeting, I went and got prototypes made of all the products that I wanted to make, right? And I put them in front of her, and I said, "This is what my brand is going to be." Before you go meet with them, they have a phone meeting with you before you meet with them in person. So before that, she had told me all she wanted was washes, but I just wanted her to see kind of what my, not my end in mind was, but like what my start of my brand would be. Mm-hmm. So I did that and she loved it. Getting to a meeting at Target is one thing, right? But like Target physically coming back to you and after, cause they have to, this is the process. You have a couple of meetings with your buyer, right? After the buyer, like think about how powerful that position is because everybody wants to be there, right? So after you meet with the buyer, then the buyer kind of like just puts her head down, her or his head down. And then they have to figure out which companies out of the thousands that they've met with, right? For whatever this category review is, which companies they're going to roll with. So like that takes a couple of months. Then from there, they have to go into planogramming. So basically like visualize like a fake store that's set up like a real store. And they have to go into that store and then they have to set those shelves in the same way that they would set the shelves in the store, right? So there's like a different planogram for each, for like if you're going in 1,000 stores, if you're going in 1,700 stores, if you're going 100 or 250 stores, right? Then from there, your buyer's boss has to check it. Then their boss has to check it. Wow. Then the top boss has to check it, right? And like all the while, the brand is just like, it's like waiting for double dutch. Like, okay, can I go? Can I go? Can I go? So like the buyer gets back to you and says, I'm like 75% sure that we're going to be able to approve you. But I can't tell you that I'm 100% sure because I got 2 or 3 more people that have to sign off on this shit, right? But all the while, your stuff is going to literally launch in Target in like a matter of months. Right?
So you can't even really buy what you need to buy because you don't know if it's final.
Sister, you have to buy that shit because if you don't buy it, like when you're in the beginning, like, okay, so Honey Pot, right? I used to make everything, right? I used to make everything. Me and my team, we used to make all this stuff, right? When you're going into Target, that is impossible. You just cannot do it unless you have a FDA approved facility, with chemists and all that kind of stuff, right? So you have to literally find a contract manufacturer. You have to sign all the non-compete agreements, NDAs, all that shit, right? After you get through all the business, now you have to pay a ton of money because they have to start formulating your product. Every time a chemist touches your stuff, it's maybe $500 or $600, right? And so they have to basically try to make the formula like you. It takes 2, 3, 4, 5 times for them to get the formula right because you know what it's supposed to feel like, smell like, look like, all that stuff, right? Because this is such a particular product, it has to be made the same way every single time. Otherwise, their vagina is going to like blow up or something, so you have to be sure that it's right. You know what I mean? You go back and forth with them. Then they're finally ready to start taking your stuff. All of this stuff takes months. So like while Target is telling you, oh, I don't know. And it's not just Target. It's every retailer. Every mass market retailer is going to work like this.
So it's just a big risk. Like you have to be willing to take a risk.
Yes. You have to be willing to take a risk because they're literally going to tell you within 8 weeks if you're in.
So you have 8 weeks to be able to provide them or to start shipping to their distribution centers, whatever it is. Like that's when
if they tell you in 8 weeks, you really only got 4 weeks because their distribution centers need it within 6 weeks of launch.
Oh my gosh. So you guys made it. Clap, clap, clap.
Yeah, you just have to close your eyes. The hardest part isn't the back and forth with the co-packers. It's not the back and forth with the buyers. It's how do you fund this? How do you find the nearly $1 million that it takes to get into, we went into 1,000 stores like that. Like you have to find that money beforehand because you don't have the credit with these manufacturers for them to say, oh yeah, you can just pay us a deposit and we'll put you on a payment plan. You understand what I'm saying? Like they need their money. It's a lot. It is a whole lot.
And you don't even know if your product will sell on the shelves.
You don't know. You take the gamble, right? Because I come from the world of CPG and retail. There's a saying. It's easy to get your product on the shelf, right? But what's not easy is making that shit move. So then you got, that's when you have to activate all your social media and you got to hire a public relations company and you got to hire a digital marketing company. And you just have to think outside the box. When you're small like we are, you don't have the $1 budget that like a Summer's Eve or a Dove has. You know what I'm saying? Like you just don't have it,
What were the best investments that you made in order to make that shit move?
Social media definitely helps. PR definitely helps. PR was my way because we use the Woods & Co. out of New York. They're fabulous. If you have a really great product and you have a really great PR company, that's like a recipe for everything beautiful, right? Because they're going to go to meet with all the editors and then the editors are going to love it. And literally that's what happened. They just ate this shit up, So we've gotten a lot of press. We've been in Vogue, Marie Claire, Refinery 29. We've gotten some really great press. So that helps. You might want to do some consumer shows that can get you out there. Those things help. Spotify has a startup program where, they might charge like, I think the minimum buy-in is like 1,000, but typically like if you go to Pandora, like you can't go to them unless you come in with like 25 stacks. You know what I'm saying? But
wow. So they had you can do ads or?
Yeah, you can do ads. And if all you have is a budget of $1,000, then you can do something. We use a digital marketing agency so that we can do like social media digital buys. When your budgets start getting bigger, then you can go into the world of Google. You just have to skin the cat in 1,000 ways.
What year was it when you launched in Target?
We launched in Target in April of 2017.
Okay. So thinking about, it's only been, I want to say like maybe 9 months now. Was it worth it? Because,
Yes.
okay. And why?
It was worth every ounce. The best thing that ever happened to me is the desperation of wanting to go into Target. That is the best thing that ever happened to me as an entrepreneur, because you're willing to do anything. And climbing over that mountain of, I need to find $300,000 in literally like a fucking week. Like, if I don't find $300,000, it's not going to happen. Even though it was I didn't sleep, I didn't eat, I was crying every other minute. I mean, my friends were like, B, are you okay? Like, everything's going to be okay. Like, literally don't let this get the best of you. Like, I was I was a little bit unstable. We had to find the money, because if we didn't find it, it wasn't going to work. And like, nothing was not going to work for me, because those kinds of deals, those kinds of opportunities do not just come knocking at your door. So like, if it comes, you have to relish it, and you have to figure out, how am I going to squeeze $300,000 out of a penny? You know what I'm saying?
How do you? I'm over here like, girl, can you send us some notes? Because I'm just trying to find like 1,000, 2,000.
You literally have to have a reason. And we were very lucky that don't raise money unless you have a reason, right? Do not raise a penny unless you're going into major distribution, or you have a way to really scale your business online. And you figured out how to do it. Do not ask anybody for a penny of their money unless you know that you're going to be able to take their money and really do something with it. Otherwise, you're wasting their time and you're wasting your time. Yep. We had the reason to do it. We had the distribution. We had the thing, that you need in order to raise money. I mean, most of the people that invested in the company, 95% of them had already been wanting to invest. And Simon would just keep telling them, nope, not yet. We don't have a reason for you to invest. Nope, not yet. And then this reason came and dropped into our lap, but we had only raised half of what we needed. And then Fly came through on the clutch. I mean, one of our biggest investors is Fly and his girlfriend, me, like they literally came through. Like, I mean, it took a while to get to the deal that we had to get through, but.
So thinking about it now, Beatrice, like, what are the biggest challenges that you guys are working now? You had this huge Target deal. You're growing online. Like, what's your biggest day-to-day problem that you guys are trying to solve now?
Still money. We made, maybe we did like 200,000 the year before. This last year we did about $1 million, or a little more. When you're scaling at that growth rate, right? If you don't have the right amount of money to take you from where you are right now to like another 10 million, then it can be really hard. And so now we're in a raise, in an equity raise an investor raise, a seed round to really help to get us from point B to point C now. But it's working out. I mean, we're getting in front of the right people. We're getting in front of some really savvy investors and they really understand this market, and they understand where we can take this thing. And so, with that comes what you need and what you want. It's just a matter of, like I said, just not giving up, focusing, putting your head down, believing in yourself, believing in your brand, but it's just scale. That's the hardest thing for most startups.
And I'm thinking like on a personal front, because, dream driving isn't only about business, and there are going to be personal things that you have to balance as well. Like, what do you think is the biggest personal challenge that you're working on as well in your own life?
Oh man, business.
Or let me ask a more specific question. What's something personally about yourself that you've had to confront as a CEO and founder?
It's hard to shut it off. It's really hard to shut it off. I'm married. My husband has immigrated here from Cuba. Personally, wanting to be a good wife, but also wanting to be a very successful business owner. And then wanting to have kids because I'm 35, so like now is the time, right? So it's like making sure that I eat right, making sure that I move around, because I can literally work all day and all night and like go to sleep and dream about work and then wake up and do that shit all over again. You know what I mean? Like that is my existence, And so how do you balance all of those things and try to do them as good as you can? Like I need to start doing yoga more often than what I do, because I haven't done it in a while. How do I find the time? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just getting out of your head and like just making the time for it. It's hard.
It's something we're all working on. We're all trying to find that balance, because when you're somebody who really believes in that dream, like, and you even know this, like, you'll do anything for your dream. Kind of like how some people will do anything for their children. Like this, your business is your child and you want to see it live and you believe in it. And it's like, you feel like if you don't put in your all, then you may not get what you're deserving. You know what I mean? So you're always putting it in. So I definitely feel you in that one. I know a lot of us can relate as well.
It's definitely not easy at all. And where we are, this is such a pivotal time. It's like having a baby that's going from being like a baby to like a toddler, like that's a pivotal time for them. Like you have to be feeding them well and making sure they're reading, that you're reading them the right books and maybe teaching them a certain language, because that it's like that really thin line, like where their brain is just like a sponge and it just eats everything. And if you just do the right things, then it can just turn out so much different, opposed to if you didn't make sure that they were eating well, or if you didn't teach them these words, or if you didn't start speaking Spanish to them. You understand what I'm saying? And so it's like, it's just hard.
So with that in mind, what's your big, scary, huge 2018 goal for Honey Pot?
My big, scary 2018 goal, I'd like to scale my company to 10 million by next year. That's my goal.
And that's amazing. And I feel like that's such a good goal, because a lot of us dream small, right? Like you could have said, I just want to have $1 million more in revenue. But like, no, you dreaming big. And I feel like that's inspiration for all of us listening.
I want to garner and maintain the relationships that will help me to do that effectively.
I definitely want to get into our lightning round. So I'm going to give you a prompt and I want you to give me the first word that comes to mind, okay? And this is sticking with our whole dreams and drive metaphor. All right?
Okay.
So the first word is park.
Car.
Reverse.
Start over.
Neutral.
Be present.
Drive.
Let's go.
I like those. You were right. You were tuned in and present for that. And what are some of your favorite business resources? If you could, recommend anything to any other, creative or lifestyle entrepreneur out there trying to build their brands, what would you recommend them to check out?
I would definitely recommend them to check out those Spotify ads for new businesses or for startups. I would recommend that they make sure that they can pay the people that work for them, even if they can only pay them a very small amount of money. I would pay for marketing if you can.
So don't do it yourself? Don't try to do it yourself?
No. Even if it's at the expense of you not paying yourself. You cannot be all things. I wear maybe 5 or 6 hats in my business, right? But like I just cannot. I really shouldn't even be wearing all those. But I have a CMO that deals with all the marketing stuff. She deals with the marketing agency. She deals with PR. She deals with influencers. She deals with all of that shit. She does it. She writes the stuff. She does everything. I have a content developer that assists Linda, my CMO. I have an assistant that takes care of all of my customer service. She answers every email. She answers every chat. She manages our fulfillment center. I don't have to coach her. When I hired her, I told her I do not have time to hold your hand. So we're going to hold hands right now, but that shit's only going to last for a second. So you have to learn and catch on, because I don't have time, And so she did that. I have Simon, who is my CFO, who helps me raise money, who is very instrumental in our numbers, who keeps us on track. You cannot do everything yourself. If you do, you're going to crash and burn. And the last thing I want to say is do not be a perfectionist. Don't do it. Do not be a perfectionist. Like, be okay with something being okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because you'll never get anywhere if you're always trying to be the best.
Exactly. Just be okay with that shit being okay.
And you know what I realized? Some people really do not, like, you think your customers want they don't even know what perfection is, right? So it's like you're creating perfection for something that they don't even know is not perfect.
They don't. Because most of the time as business owners, we think as business owners. Consumers think as consumers, right? And so consumers have no clue what it took for that bottle to show up at their doorstep, or what it took for that bottle to show up on the shelf. How many hands it had to go through, how much money that bottle cost. They don't even begin to conceptualize that. All that they care about is that it's there. It doesn't have to be perfect. When people start businesses, a lot of times they want to think of everything. I have to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. You need to pick a lane, and you need to stay in that lane. And when the opportunity comes for you to start to add another thing, another notch on your belt, then you do it. You have to pick a thing, and you have to do that shit so good that people would pay for it. You understand? Mm-hmm. So if you make a hand cream, you better make the best damn hand cream that you could possibly make, and make that thing sell and make that thing go. Then once you do that, now maybe you make a body lotion. That's selling. Then maybe you can branch off and do a soap or something like that. Mm-hmm. But don't think that you have to take on the world. Start off small and know what your end is. Begin with the end in mind. And then if you can begin with the end in mind, you can back into that shit. But you don't have to. I had to clap for that on this end. I had to clap for that on this end. But you don't have to go to the moon right now. Literally, you can just, like, you just trying to get from here to the store. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, start there first. Learn a little bit about what you're getting into. Create a small store. If you want to start a company, if you want to start a line of products, put up a website, right? Do a little bit of marketing. If you can sell through 10 or 20 of those products, even if you could sell through 2 of those products in a month, then you got something. But if you put something up and you're not selling anything, you have to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
yep. Test and take those learnings and do something with them. Like, I learned that. Like, I learned, like, I was trying to sell this is real simple, trying to sell Dreams and Drive t-shirts, right? But I was selling them through, like, a drop shipper. Like, you know how you get those online sites that will make it?
Shopify.
But no, not like Shopify, like Teespring. So basically they would make the shirt for you and then send it to people for you. But what I realized is that nobody was buying the shirts, right? And because I was using an outside person, I had to, like, make the prices higher. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to buy shirts wholesale, get them screen printed locally so I could have the cost be lower, so I can at least sell them at a lower price, but at least more people will buy them, and I could start the hype that way. So I did it that way, and I think because people saw that I had all the t-shirts and I was posting people wearing them, because people were actually buying them. You know what I mean? It was great for momentum. So sometimes you have to think about, like, how can you get momentum going, and
exactly.
And be creative about it, and then take those learnings, and then for your next iteration, like, next time my prices will be higher, but this time at least I now have, like, a core group of 100 people who have t-shirts and who can vouch for it. You know what I mean? So
exactly. And also if you do a website, I love shop. I was thinking Shopify because Teespring plugs into Shopify. You can create a curated shop, but another dope thing about Shopify, I hope if they listen to this shit, they can give me a discount. They're not going to. Another thing about Shopify is they have a lot of apps, right? So one of the apps that they have that you can put into your shop is reviews. Reviews are so powerful. Like, if you have, especially if you're in skincare or food, if you have the capacity to add reviews into your website, that is literally everything. Seriously. Like, it is everything. Like, think about how we live our life. Like, I don't know if you're anything about like me, but if I'm looking at Uber Eats and I'm looking at reviews, I want to see who has the best reviews. Or if you go on Yelp, you go with whoever has, everything is about what other people think. I think that's another resource that that startup should have.
So finally, if you want to be a dream driver, Beatrice, you have to have your keys to success. So tell me 3 things. This could be really quick. 3 things you think every dream driver needs in their toolkit before they hit the road.
A really good idea. They need grit. They have to know that they can't give up.
Thank you. Really good idea, grit, and you can't give up. So where can our listeners find you online if they want to connect with you and learn more about Honey Pot?
They can go to thehoneypot.co. So thehoneypot.co. That's our website. If they want to, look us up, they can also find us on Instagram at thehoneypotco. And then they can find us at target.com. They can find us on Amazon. Soon to be Walmart.com and Jet.com. So you'll be able to find us everywhere. Just Google us.
Yeah, because you have that big goal of selling to Unilever one day, right?
I do. That is a big goal for me.
Well, I know you'll get there because you look how far you've come in just a few short years, and it's inspiration to me just hearing this story. So thank you so much for coming on the show today, Beatrice.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, so that's a wrap for episode 135 of Beatrice Feliu Espada. I hope that you enjoyed hearing her dream driving story as well as her keys to success. And please, please, please don't forget to enter our episode giveaway. We are giving away 1 normal wash from Beatrice's company, The Honey Pot. So if you want to test out how good her products work, please go to dreamsanddrive.com/win. That's dreamsanddrive.com/win to enter. This giveaway is only going to be up for 1 week, so make sure you are entering right now. If you enjoyed today's episode, the best thing you could do is to share it with a friend, whether you screenshot it and put it on Instagram stories, whether you tweet about it or Facebook about it. Please share this episode with one person or a group of people that you think would really benefit from it. So whatever podcast player you're listening to us in, please hit that subscribe button so you get notifications every time we have a new episode. Thank you to everybody who has been joining us on Facebook. Our Facebook group is lit. So if you want to join, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/Facebook, or you can search Dream Driver Mastermind the next time you're logged on. And lastly, please check out our Dreams and Drive shop. If you want a hoodie, a crew neck sweatshirt, or a t-shirt, that's the place to go. I love when you all support me because each week I show up and try to support you with great content. And as any entrepreneur knows, it takes funds in order to scale. And this is one revenue stream that I'm building up, and I'm learning a lot about this e-commerce space. I'm learning a lot about just what it takes on the back end to build it. And maybe I'll do a podcast episode about it because there's just so many little things that I'm learning, but I like learning. And so it's been a great challenge to me, and I'm really proud of the shop. It's not perfect. The pictures aren't the prettiest, but it gets the job done. And I think that goes back to something that a lot of our guests have said: done is better than perfect. And if you launch and everything is perfect, then you probably waited too long. And I wanted to give you all an option rather than saying, hey, Cash App me or PayPal me. I wanted to set up something so that I could actually make money while I'm sleeping, right? It can run on its own, because the one limitation with Cash App and PayPaling was that it wasn't running on its own, and I had to actively be seeking out people and, sending invoices or whatever. So let's see how this works. Remember, you can use the code DRIVER for 10% off, and we have free shipping for the rest of February. Keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again in episode 136. Bye, guys.